Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
The holidays start here at Kroger with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. You could do a classic herb-roasted turkey or spice it up and make turkey tacos. Serve up a go-to shrimp cocktail or use Simple Truth wild-caught shrimp for your first Cajun risotto. Make creamy mac and cheese or a spinach artichoke fondue from our selection of Murray's cheese. No matter how you shop, Kroger has all the freshest ingredients to embrace all your holiday traditions. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw on Anfield Index Pro. Podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland, I'm Trev Downey, and joining me to give their immediate reactions to Union Saint Gilloise 2, Liverpool 1 in the Europa League from wherever Anderlecht play are Dave Hendrick and Karl Matchett. And we had a little bit of a chat, Dave, amongst ourselves before we put the mics live here for the recording, and we're all pretty much in agreement that it was a dreadful watch, not much to take from it at all, I don't think, by way of positives, but we may well be hung, drawn and quartered for having such negative opinions because the young lads and enjoy the game, etc. Fair play to lads.
I fully agree, Trev. And with that, folks, thank you for listening to this episode of Post Match Raw. We'll see you next time. No, look, it was a very tough match to watch. A very, very tough match to watch. Fair to say that a lot of players, both young and senior, it wasn't just the young lads. There was a couple of senior lads had absolute rotters as well, that they didn't take advantage of the opportunity to play, but the one who did, and I'm going to steal him now in case Carl decides to talk about him, I thought Jarrell Quansah actually did shine in this game. He's very slow on the turn, which is the one thing I would knock him on, but his passing was outstanding. He looks good in the air. He's solid 1v1. He's comfortable carrying the ball out of defence, and he scored a tremendous goal, having been robbed of a goal, obviously, in the Toulouse game. Got himself his first goal for the Reds tonight. Good first touch, great finish. He was the one real shining light for me today. I thought he was the one that really kind of stood out above everybody else, both his fellow youngsters and the seniors that played. A couple of others had decent games, but as far as good games go, he's the only one I'd be willing to credit with a good game.
And as far, Carl, as you know, reacting to both the game and the reaction to the game, I've kind of touched on something there. We had a little bit of a chit chat about a second before we started with Dave. Similarly, I'm seeing an awful lot of, sort of unequivocal takes on how terrible our youth players or our young talent is. It feels utterly reactionary in the worst possible way. I mean, you cannot create two flanks of kids and expect things to go well if the senior men who are down the spine don't stand up and really, really help them. And they didn't have much help tonight. I just feel like the whole thing felt like a little bit of a wasted exercise, perhaps because of the formula of the team that took the field to start with. I don't know. What's your take?
I'd largely go along with that, to be honest, and also probably add in the fact that the pitch, especially down the flanks where those groups of non-playing cohesive new partnerships were, kind of looked like, someone had thrown a tractor on there, done a few, wheelies and spins and a few other bits and pieces, and then taken a herd of cows down the side and then maybe let people play football on it. So I'm okay with it being just rubbish, to be honest, because that's exactly what I would have expected from most of the group stage experience that you have to get through one way or another. And while it's not a fun thing to have to get through on nights like this, and it sort of points to the format, but it also points to the lineup and everything else. But this is the lineup we wanted, and we wanted to have a match off, if you know what I mean, so that the seniors didn't have to play. So all of these players who haven't played well tonight and don't have a lot of experience probably would have been, let's say, a level better had they had senior players around them. I don't think that their quality should be written off, or indeed, if they'd played well, said that they were definites to be in the team forevermore, on the back of one game in isolation, especially with one in the context of this one, which didn't affect where we would finish in the group, but it certainly didn't help it. I think the team was absolutely the right one to pick, but that was also a self-fulfilling thing in that we were never really going to have a great outing.
And you'd have to say, just to return to the point that I kind of tried to force upon you there, you'd have to say that if we take it from the back, we can't include Kelleher in this conversation because of the remarkably small amount of games the fellas played. But if you take it from the back and you have a look at from Konate through Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott and Endo and up to Cody Gakpo, that spine of the team, there was really nothing by way of a solid performance. Some of them were ropey as fuck. Some of them actually just look like shadows of themselves. I think we'll have to come to that. It's very strange to see what we were hoping was an emerging Endo pull in a shift like he did there, where he got absolutely monstered on a couple of occasions by lads who surely shouldn't be putting up to him like that. Curtis Jones's passing was appalling, but he wasn't on his own there. And Cody Gakpo looked like someone had stolen Cody Gakpo and put on a Cody Gakpo suit and went out and ran around, because there was no contribution from him until somewhere close to the very end of the game. And these kids cannot hope to flourish if there's not at least that very solid spine to the team, looking to bring them into play and actually being able to hold up the ball to allow them to make a couple of runs and stuff like that. It was just, I felt like they were very badly served by their more senior colleagues.
I would agree with everything that you've just said there, other than you said that someone put on a Cody Gakpo suit and ran around. That last bit didn't happen at all.
That's true.
Stood around.
The suit stood and watched the game go by. Look, you can look at it two ways. If you are one of these kids, like, this is an opportunity for you to impress and you just got to do what you do. Or, you need someone to handhold you through a few games early on in your career to be able to play your best. But you just kind of, you have to take this opportunity when they come around, just to get the feel, the experience, whatever it is. I kind of agree that this team, this context of this match was a little bit set up to fail for quite a few of these young players, but it's not going to be the be all and end all for most of them. They will get further opportunities at some point somewhere along the line. I don't think anybody within the coaching staff certainly would hold this performance against them and say, wow, you had your chance, you weren't good enough. I think it's also important to remember down that right hand side with Harvey Elliott, who whether you think he's a central midfielder or not, he's not exactly a powerhouse central midfielder. And the two players behind and in front of him down that right-hand side hadn't played for us since the 21-22 season. For injuries, for being away and trying to get back to full fitness and all the rest of it. So it's a really difficult thing to come in and just start all of a sudden at senior level against a team who, to add further context, did have something to play for. So they might not be great, but they are professional footballers, and they are, men, adults for all intents and purposes, with something real tangible to try and go for. So the kids were up against it tonight, and all right, they might not have thrived, but again, I as bad as this performance was, and it was a shocker, I would blame a lot more on the couple of seniors who were out there than any of the kids. And also, I wouldn't blame anything on Klopp at all, because he had to go with this kind of a team.
That's interesting. Dave, let's talk about the Liverpool lineup from Karl's jumping off point there, that Kloppo had to do that. Because as he was speaking, I was wondering to myself, I wonder would there have been an argument for really going, because it's exactly right what Karl says. They have something, this team have something to fight for. And on the night you get the likes of Puertas and Moura looking like world beaters, Nilsson, busy, and we're making these guys look a level above the way they are. And I'm just thinking, would there have been an argument to go with an almost exclusively youngster lineup, because there might be a bit more of a collective raw energy there that we could have tapped into? Because people have said this, Dave. Sorry, I'm putting a lot on the plate, but I think you're going to be able to pick up all the bits. People have said that, you can't blame the senior players. I mean, they've got a huge match coming up. They've got all these big games coming up. This game does not matter, and we have to be very clear about it. Does not matter a damn, except for those kids who are trying to get a toe hold. So they're actually probably going to be a little bit cautious, minding themselves a little bit, and psychologically that can get in on them. Now, whether or not you think that's acceptable for a senior professional when he's been asked to turn out for his club, it is a fair point, I guess. So would there have been a decent shout for maybe putting out far more of those youngsters, filling out the team with them and getting that sort of, just like I say, that buoyant energy? Or do you see the point that Karl was making, that Klopp would have been possibly hung drawn and quartered if he hadn't done that?
No, I would have preferred to see an even younger team, to be honest. I didn't want to see Ibu Konate playing football tonight, because we've got a massive game at the weekend, and he's now even more vital than he was before, because Joel Matip is out for the season and Ibu has injury problems, so I didn't want to risk him at all. Now, I don't know who would have been the other centre-back to come in, but I assume there's somebody in our academy who could have come along and played. And he's the one of the senior players that I would forgive for tonight, because I actually did think he did okay in the first half, because he was having to deal with no defensive support down that side. Conor Bradley had a really poor first half. Harvey's not a particularly good defensive player. And Cade Gordon was playing for the first time in nearly 700 days. So I thought Ibu did put in a bit of a shift. But again, that harkens back to the fact that I didn't want to see him play. But, you look at it and you say, okay, well, we do have United, so maybe some of the senior lads are pacing their way through this game. But you look at the ones that started. Cody Gakpo isn't first choice for us. And surely he should be using every opportunity he gets on the pitch to put in that extra work to try and reclaim the starting spot. But he didn't do it tonight. He was absolutely atrocious. Curtis Jones was first choice, has lost his place, surely is trying to fight his way back into the team. He had a stinker tonight. Wituro Endo is not first choice. But there's an opportunity with McAllister out for maybe him to get a run and establish himself. And he was really poor against Palace at the weekend, so you were hoping for a bounce back. And he looked out of his depth. And I get what Karl's saying about these are professional footballers that play for Union, and they are top of their own domestic league. But that domestic league is about the equivalent of playing in League One. And I'd like to think that if we played a League One team with that team that we had out there tonight in the League Cup, the FA Cup, whatever, that they'd get the job done. And they didn't. And, you're looking at their situation. Yes, they had something to play for. Yes, they're technically the home team, but they're not actually at home. Like, that's actually a neutral venue that we've played at tonight. And you've got a weird situation where there's no fans behind either goal because Anderlecht haven't given permission to use the areas behind the goal. I think it might have something to do with UEFA as well, because I think the safe standing and the seats have actually been lifted out in some parts of it. But we should have had enough to go there and not win. The result doesn't really bother me. It's the manner of the result that annoys me. Like Conor Bradley, yeah, he hasn't played for us in a few years, but he did play regularly the last 2 seasons. Callum Chambers played regularly last season. Do you know? And Bradley at least is coming back from injury, but like it's an opportunity to show what you're capable of. And I feel like both of those youngsters let it slip through their fingers. I thought Bradley was actively bad in the first half. He seemed to settle down once he got the yellow card. It was quite strange. Once he got booked, he seemed to settle into the game and his head kind of got screwed on a little better. But prior to that, he was absolutely all over the place. The 2 wingers, I mean, Cade Gordon, I thought, had some moments where he picked the ball up, drove in field, got his head up and was looking for a pass and won a free kick. And he looks like a real proper player. He looks like one that has a real chance. Ben Doak, on the other hand, puts his head down and runs fast in a straight line and doesn't really run anywhere. And like we've seen, this is not the first time he's played in this competition this season. And yet it's the same thing with him. There's no end product there. And yes, he's a youngster. And yes, it will come. But you would have liked to have seen some uptick in his ability to find a man.
There's a reason Bowling Green State University is ranked #1 in Ohio for student experience. Our in-demand degrees and life design program prepares students for their first career and their next. With an unparalleled support system at a national research university, BGSU offers an unrivaled experience, all on a vibrant campus in one of America's best college towns. It's also why Bowling Green State University is the #1 school in the Midwest that students would choose again for the 4th year in a row.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
Will
From
it though?
September to now.
I mean, will it come? Because we've seen this now in successive games from the kid. And when he burst onto the scene, he got his couple of cameo appearances. He was taking people on, and people love to see that. Of course they do. But it's like it's the only thing he's got in his armory, which is to either put, as you say, head down running at defenders, or if that fails, or if he gets away with not getting past the defender and it pops back to him, just pop it off to the side and whatever. He doesn't seem to have a whole lot of extra bits to his game, and that can't really be right. He's not going to survive at Liverpool if he doesn't have other aspects to his game. It's interesting, isn't it, that perhaps he might be inside his own head a little bit, thinking, I'm the guy who runs at people.
Yeah,
there's so many other things to do.
He's been at Liverpool now for 18 months. And there doesn't really seem to have been any development to his game in that time. Now, development isn't linear, so maybe it comes later for him, but maybe it doesn't. You know, I remember watching and talking to people at Celtic who knew this kid, and they said, like, he is absolute lightning in a bottle, but there's no end product yet, but it'll come. It'll come in the next couple of years. Well, we're 18 months on, and there's still no sign of it. Now, part of that is he's, 17, 18. He shouldn't even be playing senior football, really, for a club like us at the moment. But there just doesn't seem to have been any new thing added to the skill set. Like, there's no movement. He waits for the ball, and then he gets it, and then he takes off. You saw Cade Gordon a couple of times today make runs where he cut in off the flank, so that there was space out wide for either the fullback to overlap or Elliot to move into. We didn't see any of that with Ben Doak tonight. And look, again, he's a really young player. And I'm sure the coaching staff think very, very highly of him for a reason. And I'm really hopeful that he does go on to become a very good player for us. But it is just, it concerns me ever so slightly that we just haven't seen any real development in the skill set over the 18 months he's been at the club. But like I said, it's more the performance. It's the opportunity. Yes, we had nothing to play for and they did. But you're playing for Liverpool. It's an opportunity to play for Liverpool. It's an opportunity for the younger players to earn minutes after Christmas. This will be the last time we'll see any of these kids until next season in the early rounds of the League Cup. And with no, likely, touch wood, likely no Europa League next season, they're not going to be playing the Champions League. Most of them aren't going to play in the Champions League. So this was an opportunity for them to really put down a marker. Like for Conor Bradley, for example, he might go out on loan in January. But he should have been putting down a marker to say, like, I know Calvin Ramsey is owned by this club as well, but here's me proving that I'm better than him and more ready for senior Liverpool moments than him at this moment in time. For the two left backs, they're in competition for minutes or to be involved in senior squads while Robbo's out. Chambers didn't take his opportunity. I thought when Scanlon came on, he looked a player. So he did take the opportunity. He made me think if we had to play him in the third round of the FA Cup, I'd probably be okay with that. But I wouldn't want to see Chambers in the third round of the FA Cup, you know? So It's just, I feel like everybody who was on the pitch tonight should individually have had something to play for. Either you're a senior player looking to establish yourself, get back in the first team picture, in the first 11 picture, or you're a young player battling to earn minutes after Christmas, or to earn a loan move potentially in January. Because, like, for some of them, they don't play regularly for the 23s. So if clubs are looking at them and thinking, okay, well, we want a left back in. What about Chambers? Oh, but that Scanlon kid looks like he might be a little bit better. Let's go and see if they'll give us Scanlon on loan. Robertson's back. They might be willing to let one of the left backs go out on loan now. Let's go and get Scanlon because he looks like he's more ready. And it kind of bumps Chambers a little bit further back down the pecking order. Like, again, they're all young kids. I really want to see all of them kick on and do really well for us, either to play for us or players that we can then sell on for good money. But I just felt like too many tonight. And again, mostly the senior players just let themselves down more than anything else.
I think that's fair. And for the record, just so I go through it, we're not going to do any analysis on the lineups. It was Kelleher in goal and Quansah and Kanate, Bradley and Chambers on either flank, Jones, Elliot and Endo in the midfield, Doak, Gakpo and Gordon. And as Dave says, all of those players ostensibly had something to play for, probably with the exception of Ibu Kanate, who of the seniors was the best. I've heard someone say Harvey Elliott had a great outing. I failed to see that. They went with Maurice in goals. They had three across the back with McAllister, Burgess and Machida. They had Castro Montes, Amani, Siddiqui and Lapoussin on across the middle four. Across the middle with Puertas behind Nielsen and Amura. And they were lively. And if we get into the details of the match, we might as well start to pick out a couple of the little narratives, Carl. And the first half is where all the things happen, I guess. The second half is kind of a non-entity, but there are one or two points to make about it for sure. So we'll, between the three of us, have a little bit of a chat about this first half and talk about, you know, anything that we found relevant. What was obvious to me, Carl, at the start was that the flanks were wide open for exploitation by them, and they really had the tails up, for want of a better commentator cliche, in the opening 10 minutes. They pretty much, it seemed like they owned the ball. Then the stats flicked up on 20 minutes and we had well, at least 73% of possession. I'm thinking, wow, it really didn't feel like that. The best efforts from them, mind you, for all their bluster in the opening 10 minutes, was a shot from distance on around the 8-minute mark, and or header wide, on the 8-minute mark, and a shot from distance on 11. Amura looked bright, put in a couple of good crosses. Remember him, he's going to come back again later. And in fact, on 17 minutes, he was played in down the left-hand side. He cut in, he shot across the face of goal with the inside of his right foot. Now, if it's Thierry Henry, that's nestling in the back of the net, because we saw that a million times from him, but Moura didn't quite get it right. It was a great opportunity. He should have done better with it. But we couldn't seem to get any kind of toehold at that point. I'm just going to take you up, Karl, as far as the first goal, because on 21 minutes, there's another opportunity, and again, it's for them. And this is just after it's flashed up that we've had 73% of the ball in the first 20 minutes. Nielsen is played in down the right-hand side. He gets the better of Quansah. He gets in on Caoimhín Kelleher, and to be fair, Kelleher comes out and does very well to stop it with his leg. This is an important thing to note for Kelleher, because there might not be too many more moments where we can applaud him. We pick up the first yellow of the game. Bradley goes in late on 23 minutes. Endo wasn't having a great evening, and on 26 minutes he got absolutely beasted in midfield, lost possession, and if Amura was cleverer with his run, they'd have been in on goal and would have been 1-up. As it was, it only took another 5 minutes, because on 31 it is Amura who gets in. He's played in by Nielsen. Kelleher comes out, he gets a paw on the ball, but it spills back towards the feet of the striker, and he manages to bundle it home. Now, he was, I thought, initially when I saw it, offside. I've seen one replay, and that seemed to me that he was offside. There was no discussion, no still photography, no talk of anything being examined or looked at. The goal was just simply given. Now, I don't want to be that guy, but to me, it should not have stood, and I don't understand why it did. We got filtered through to us via the ever-reliable commentary teams. This time it was the TNT combo of Paul, oh God, I can't think of his second name. Anyway, not to worry. He was the guy, he's got a peculiar kind of a Norwich accent, I think. He was the guy anyway who was calling, and he said, look, it's been checked, and apparently Kanate was playing him onside. Oh, that's great. You don't feel the need to show us. So it was an odd half an hour, Karl. They probably absolutely deserved, for their intent at least, to be ahead. But the fact that the goal, to me, should not have stood, and I have no proof otherwise except for the two still shots I've seen, that leaves a little bit of a sour taste on the back of a poor performance by us in that half hour.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, all of that. I mean, we had a lot of the ball, but did nothing with it. I mean, up to 35 minutes, considering all that possession. Cody Gakpo at centre forward has had 14 touches at this point, and we haven't had a shot. So it kind of tells you that there was an awful lot of passive, reductive, very, very attempting to be safe along the back line. And then anytime anything did go into midfield, you described one for Endo, but it could have been any of the three of them, to be fair. I thought Jones maybe started okay in terms of his first touch and his passing and that, but actually I think the more the rest of the team weren't really doing much, he kind of took it upon himself to do a lot more and didn't, and it actually went much worse for him afterwards. None really of the midfield played particularly well in that spell in terms of progressive passing, in terms of playing between the lines, making runs forward into the final third themselves. Again, the knock-on effect of that is we didn't really have that usual triangles and the support from fullback, because there wasn't so much overlapping. There wasn't that, very, very quick, incisive first touch pass into midfield and then they run off and so on. So all of these things are connected, and that, part of the reason why we were so... Do we want to use the word boring? We were pretty boring in that first
We were
time.
boring, yeah.
So it's all connected, right? But ultimately, you want either one of two things. Either you be really, really safe at the back, or you just try something a little bit different to try and make things happen in the final third. Some teams will go a direct ball. Sometimes someone else will try and like dribble it forward, but we weren't really getting the wide forwards in decent areas. There wasn't really, like I say, the overlaps or anything like that. So it was a grind to watch that first half hour. And defensively, it was the same thing which caused us the problem every single time. It was either balls in behind the fullbacks and just once or twice in behind Quansah as well. Dave mentioned like on the turn is obviously something he struggles at a little bit more. I would probably add into that conversation not having another senior defender beside him talking. And, that would go for most young players anyway. Second half, Quansah was actually probably one of the most vocal players out there for Liverpool, but you can sometimes see that he's maybe making positional decisions himself, which somebody else might just rein him in a little bit more or position him a bit further over to the side or whatever it is. Kelleher for that goal, I know what he's trying to do there. He's trying to obviously bat it away, but it's gone straight back into the forward's foot. Whereas I think maybe, obviously easy to say this after viewing a couple of replays rather than at the time, maybe just flicking it out to the side was his better option there rather than straight back into the forward's foot. But, there was a lot of things which could have been done better in the whole lead up to that goal. Jones losing possession, Endo losing the tackle. It was a bit of a mess all around.
Was that a tackle that Endo did? I wasn't really sure what it was he did. He just sort of... It was like watching a pisshead trying to get in for last orders. He just sort of rambled over and then collapsed in front of everybody. But you would put most of the blame on Curtis because like he seemed to be trying to have a little dance or something and maybe, get a group dance going with some of the Union players and seemed to forget that there was a game of football to be played. But I've just popped a picture in the chat there. Now, excuse the crudely drawn line. It's not my picture. Well, the line's actually not terrible. Like, that is clearly offside.
It's a pretty terrible picture, but he does look offside.
It's offside as fuck.
Tired of ads interrupting your favorite show? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Download the Amazon Music app or visit amazon.com/ad-free sports. That's amazon.com/ad-free sports to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime members. Some shows may have ads.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's all it is. It's just offside. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous decision. Whatever. As I said, Carl's agreed. I'm glad you showed us that because at least I know I'm not mental. But look, it doesn't really matter because overall, Dave, if we're being honest, on the balance of the first half hour, as Carla said, we were pretty shoddy. And shoddy is probably a kind word to use. And so we will just finish out. I'm just going to finish out the details of the first half. I'm having massive deja vu. This must have been a thing that happened in the Champions League last year or the year before, because I feel like I've just nearly got floored by that. I feel like I've been exactly here before. We'll just finish out this part of the first half. You get 2 goals to talk about, but feel free to flash back to any of the things that we touched on there, myself and Carl, because on 39 minutes, we do actually get level. It comes from a bit of decent play. The first bit of decent play by the Reds, it happens on 38 minutes. That in and of itself should tell you what you need to know. It involves Bradley. He puts over the cross, and from that we get a corner. The corner is where the goal comes from in 39 minutes to make it 1-1. It is a an outswinging corner by Curtis. It evades or eludes the head of Ibu Konate, and it drops in the path of Quansah, who controls it beautifully. He's sort of moving towards the ball, and strikes through the ball after his first touch into a load of space, and puts it beautifully into the back of net. It's a great finish from the edge of the area. A smashing goal, a picture postcard goal. And if for no other reason, his teammates, you'd want them to be defending with their lives after that, just to make that goal register and count. It's an interesting thing to note here that Quansah has managed to score before Joe Gomez. Just saying, Joe, you might want to pull your finger out there. On 42 minutes, they go ahead. And it's the decisive goal of the game, because nothing happens worth a damn in the second half in terms of actual goals. It's Puertas. They get in down their left, our right yet again. The ball is played into Puertas, who takes one touch. Now, he's making an interesting run, but it's a run that leaves it where he's completely unaccompanied, unhindered, unimpaired, finding this magical space, which our midfield has been so apt to leave in all its incarnations over the last few years. And any of the things we ever said about one Jordan Henderson, we can say about the exact same lad who is playing in that position today, and the fella on the other flank, and the fella in the centre, because there was no cover for those defenders. I actually feel sorry for them, I'll be honest. The kids at fullback, and whoever made up the centre-half partnerships throughout, they were constantly exposed. That space was absolutely absurd. And when Puertas ran into it, there's still a huge amount to do. And this, Dave, is where we have to talk about Caoimhín, because the ball is hit with the correct amount of venom for a lad who's running headlong towards our goal in ample space. But he is beaten, is Big Kev, on his near post in a way that Alisson would never be. Now, we have to have the chat. Can we just maybe stop comparing anyone in the world to Alisson, because it's just not fucking fair?
Yeah.
Can we just accept that other keepers will have feet of clay by comparison? Is it too much? When you take the vast body of work that he did tonight, because he was busy, there were plenty of stops. In the second half, there's a lot more. Maybe in the bigger scheme of things, it outweighs it. Do we need to stop maybe in our assessment of Kelleher having, and this is hard for people to do, having Alisson as the benchmark, because nobody's living up to that? Or was it just poor again? What's your take?
Well, first things first, you're correct about the midfield giving absolutely no cover, and both fullbacks are having to push to cover for the work the midfield is not doing. So both centre-backs are getting left exposed. Ibu moves across. Quansah should be quicker across, and he should be closer to the man when he breaks into that space. But Puertas gets the shot away. Kelleher shouldn't get beaten at his near post. Like, it is as simple as that, but then it's not as simple as that, because you're right. Comparing him to Alisson is foolish, because it's not that Alisson's the benchmark at Liverpool. Alisson is the benchmark globally. He is the best keeper on the planet. He is the best goalkeeper the Premier League has ever seen. Apologies to Peter Schmeichel. Apologies to Petr Cech. And apologies to Edwin van der Sar. You have been usurped. Alisson is the best keeper the league has ever seen. So comparing anybody to him is unfair. Comparing a young lad, well, he's 25 now, with less than 30 games under his belt, is very unfair. But here's the thing. It's also silly to turn around and go, oh, he's just unfortunate that Alisson's ahead of him at Liverpool. Because Caoimhín isn't good enough to be our first choice starter. He's not number 2 because we have Alisson. He's number 2 because he's not good enough to be number 1. It's that simple. If we didn't have Alisson, we would have to have somebody else as the starter. And the problem with a backup goalkeeper is that they don't play regularly enough to develop properly. and they don't play regularly enough to even maintain a good level, you'll have a great backup goalkeeper for a year or two at most, and then they either need to move on, or if you keep them, they're going to drop off. You can look all around Europe, and that's generally what happened. Unless they're getting 15 to 20 games each and every season, they're going to have a drop-off. You've seen Barcelona and Real Madrid do the thing where one plays the league and the other plays all the cups and European games. But they tend to get 6 to 7 games in the Copa del Rey, all the group stage games in the Champions League, and then those clubs tend to go a good bit in, and then they'll get 3 or 4 league games as well. So they're getting 20 games a season, thereabouts. Caoimhín, I think he's never played more than 8 in a season. So where's he meant to be developing? How is he meant to be developing? So it's not fair on him either to say, like, you know, he hasn't kicked on. It was obvious he wasn't going to kick on if he wasn't going to play. If Jarrell Quansah played 6 games or 7 games a season for the next 5 years, in 5 years, he'd be the same defender that he is now. And we're all looking at him thinking, you know what, in the right shape, if you put pace either side of him, he could be a fixture if he continues to develop. Yeah. You know, because he's got everything else. If Trent had not won the battle with Joe Gomez, and Trent had shown flashes, but then he'd just been Gomez's backup and he was playing, you know, the odd game here, there, and wherever, he would just be another lad that came from the academy as opposed to one of the best right backs the game has ever seen. Players need to play to develop, and Caoimhín hasn't played enough. And it's just unfortunate. But there is the two sides to it. Number one, we shouldn't compare anyone to Alisson. But number two, we also do have to be realistic. If Alisson left the club tomorrow, we would have to go and buy a new goalkeeper because Caoimhín Keller is not good enough to be our first choice. And that goal is an example of why. Look, he did really well in the 1v1 early on. He was really unfortunate with their first goal. But that goal is poor from a goalkeeping point of view. Like, you can't get beaten on your near post. The guy hit it, like you said, with a decent amount of venom. But it's not like it was an absolute rocket that exploded off his foot and gave him no chance.
Not at all. No.
You know, and it's not the first time we've talked about him getting beaten with a goal that you'd like to see him save.
It's not even the 4th time. That's the tragic thing about it. And I think I'm glad. Listen, this is what, at least a show like this, the two of you boys can come up with some stuff that we can talk about that is relevant in the bigger scheme of things. And even if this game is entirely irrelevant, these topics are interesting, and these topics are what we can hang our hat on. And Karl, let's see if we can find one in the second half, because we decided to introduce Gravenberch and Joe Gomez, but Kloppo's not going strong here because he decides to remove the powerhouse that is Endo and also Ibu Kanate. So nominally he's taken out 2 seniors and put 2 seniors back in and left the flanks as they were, which I guess, again, if you're going to give him a chance, give him a chance. There's a first yellow card for them on 52 minutes for Siddiqui. To be fair, the lad had been kicking lads up in the air regularly and holding them back and pinning them. He should have gotten one for a foul on Cade Gordon earlier on. And the ball is in the back of the net on 61 minutes. It's Portes again. Amora's chest flicks the ball to Amani. He squares to Puertas, and he finishes it quite well, actually. It was ruled off because there was a handball in the build-up. But you couldn't really have argued with it again. It was a flattener. It was a bit of a deadener. You'd like to think that what would have happened next, Karl, was with the introduction of Darwin Nunez and our kid Scanlon to replace Chambers, that perhaps maybe now we're going to see something happen. So Darwin now is a senior coming in for, I think I'm fairly positive it was Doak. And so you're thinking, okay, right, so he's going to raid from the left. He's our guy. We know how wonderful he can be. Perhaps this is going to happen. We saw Scanlon struggle with his opening touches and then really very much actually develop into the game, which was a mini positive to take out of it. On 64 minutes, again, Amora with the dangerous cross. Caoimhín Kelleher pushes it away. Joe Gomez clears it. Again, on 69 minutes, Amora, this time with a peach of a cross to Nielsen. Nielsen's 8 yards out, Carl. Pretty much unchallenged. He heads the ball wide. He is one of their attacking players. He should do much better with what is a fantastic chance. And so at this stage, you have to say we deserve whatever the hell we get out of this game, because it could be dead and buried if we're being perfectly honest. 71 minutes, a simple ball in. Again, that's all it seemed to take tonight. Amora was in space. He was pretty much 1v1 with Caoimhín Kelleher, and his outside of the foot hit with his right foot was kind of awkward, and Kelleher managed to parry the ball to safety. I think we'll pause it there because there's very little for me and Dave to talk about with the end of the game. Maybe we won't even do that. Maybe we'll just wrap it up now between ourselves. But in the second half, and anything else that you want to talk about, because actually, look, let's be honest, the only other thing that happens worth a damn is that Gravenberch gets off a shot in 78 minutes after a decent ball by Harvey Elliot. I thought Gravenberch was lucky with his touch, I'll be honest, as he was marauding forward. I was told it was a fantastic touch by the commentary team. I think he got lucky, but it dropped nicely and his hit was good. Harvey put in a cross that was too high for Darwin Nunez. Eckert has a shot towards the end of the game. He was introduced as a late substitute. And there was a bit of decent work by Caoimhín Kelleher at that point. He saved it. There was a dangerous follow-up cross. Kelleher came out and punched away the corner that came from that cross. And we had a couple of blocked shots right at the death, I think the last minute of the 5 that were added. So that's the second half. Let's not pretend it was a wild ride and a must-see. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's get your take on the second half, and let's get your wrap-up thoughts as well, bundled into the package if you don't mind, and then I'll go back to Dave and we'll get out of here.
There's a reason Bowling Green State University is ranked #1 in Ohio for student experience. Our in-demand degrees and life design program prepares students for their first career and their next. With an unparalleled support system at a national research university, BGSU offers an unrivaled experience, all on a vibrant campus in one of America's best college towns. It's also why Bowling Green State University is the #1 school in the Midwest that students would choose again for the 4th year in a row.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Okay, so we might as well start with the subs. And in fact, I'll probably just make that my thing to talk about for the second half because, let's be honest, there's not an awful lot of footballing to talk about. So I'm glad of the 2 that went off. Endo didn't have a good game or whatever, but in terms of McAllister obviously being absent at the minute, minimal other options, so I'm fine with the protective notion of taking him off after 45, and absolutely the same for Konate. I don't think Konate is near his best at the minute, so I know what Dave's saying about he didn't want him playing just in case of an injury, but I'm not 100% against a 45-minute run out because I think he needs to get back to his levels fairly sharpish, to be honest. We don't just need him fit, we need him playing well. So I'm not against him getting the run out. I would say out of the two, Gomez had the better 45 minutes on the pitch, in my opinion. There's a bit of, I suppose, decent recovery work from Gomez a couple of times, and it looked like he was maybe a bit more vocal than Konate was as well, which, arguably you would expect. Scanlon, I think, was pretty good when he came on as well, but not too much from the two seniors. And again, maybe you're looking at it and thinking they can't be bothered, or they're not really that invested in it, or whatever. But I mean, Darwin's come on for half an hour and has had 5 touches of the ball. So there is an issue there. There's also an issue in the fact that we didn't really give him anything. The couple of runs he did make, balls or crosses to him from deep, didn't actually reach him. So, that's obviously against the number of times he does get in possession. Gravenberch did a magnificent job of, when you get them sort of groups of people working at the side of the road and there's like 3 people doing stuff and then one who sort of stood there all the time, not doing an awful lot. That was his role today. So,
that's not his role every day.
I mean, for such a talented guy, the game passes him by an awful lot, and that has to change before he's a regular starter in matches which are meaningful. But I will remain steadfast in that my biggest issue at the moment in Liverpool starters is very, very much Cody Gakpo. He was just such a non-entity today. He's 6'3", and he cannot hold the ball up. He cannot hold off a defender. He can't control the ball when there's any kind of pressure on him at all. It's very concerning where he is at the moment in terms of we need him to do better.
I think that's absolutely fair. And it's a nice hard hit to end on. It makes sense. Between now and United, Karl, what have you got for us?
A bit of a quick turnaround, obviously, but we will have a Scouted, which is very, very United focused. We've been delaying laughing at them too much over the last couple of weeks, even though they have been giving us ample opportunity to do so. But rest assured, we will be going in 2-footed, much like Jarell Quansah did quite near the end of this game.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Seamless segue into Mr. Hendrick and his final thoughts. What do you reckon, Dave? What have we got to take away from this? Is there anything that remains to be said about it, or are we pretty much done? And do please let us know what we've got between now and United from you as well.
So the one thing to take away from it is the performance of Jarell Quansah. 90 minutes, 1 goal, 100 passes attempted, 95 completed. 13 of 16 accurate long passes, won 4 of 4 tackles, had 5 ball recoveries and 3 interceptions. That's really, really good. You compare and contrast that with Cody Gakpo. 90 minutes, 38 touches, completed 19 of 24 passes for 79%, won 3 of 7 ground duels, made 1 tackle, lost possession 12 times, and was dribbled past once. And, of course, his Dutch compatriot, who played 45 minutes, had 32 touches and gave the ball away 11 times, which is quite staggering. 17 accurate passes from 23 for 74%, less than ideal. Won 2 of 3 ground duels, all of which he was in possession of the ball, lost his only aerial duel, and had not 1 single defensive action. I have dogs. I have 3 dogs now, taking out Molly, who looks down on the others. We have Toby, who's like a Shih Tzu Terrier cross, and he's very small. And he is of the belief that he is the biggest dog in the world and could fight anything. He kind of reminds me of, your Ben Doak, that short man syndrome. We have a collie called Sammy, who is a large collie, who is of the opinion that he is a very small dog, and insists on, sitting on your lap and your head and things like that. Cody Gakpo, and to an extent, Ryan Gravenberch, they remind me of a big dog who is unaware that they are a big dog. Cody Gakpo is the smallest 6'3", 6'4" player I've ever seen. He has no core strength. He has no aggression. He has no desire for a scrap. Like, how are you getting bullied by lads that much smaller than you? How are you so easily pushed off the ball? How is it that when you try something and it doesn't work out, you don't go and fight to win the ball back? The other fella that came off the bench, the Uruguayan lunatic, didn't have a good performance, but he never stopped moving. He never stopped running. When he made a mess of things, which he did, I think, with every touch he had, he tried to win the ball back at least. Like, I just don't get it with Gakpo and with Gravenberch. You've got everything. You've got the size. You're genetically gifted. You've got immense technical ability. But they're both really, really soft and lackadaisical. And not to play into Dutch stereotypes, but I'm not convinced that both of them weren't absolutely stoned off their nut before tonight. Because they've come on, they've jogged around the place, and jogged is doing them a service. Like, it's carrying a lot of water there. There was a lot of standing around and waiting for a bus. But, like, they give the ball away so easily. There's no, like, when they're passing the ball, it's almost like they're thinking about what they're going to have for dinner tonight. There's no focus on making sure the ball reaches its intended target. How do you give the ball away 11 times in 32 touches? How do you do that?
And compare and contrast that, not to delay things here, but compare and contrast that to the best we've seen from them. So a really good Gakpo performance is not quite a masterclass.
But we know he's capable of so much more.
Exactly. As we know with Nunez, as we know, we hope we know, we've seen at least ample evidence that
Gravenberch against Bordeaux was outstanding.
There you go. So he's got it in. He's got it in.
He has it in him.
Yeah,
he has it in him. And against opposition, now we haven't seen it in the Premier League, bar that one cameo against City where he did a couple of good dribbles. But against opposition like this is your chance to go out there and show how much talent you have. Go out and show Bayern Munich that they were wrong to sell you. Go out and show people that they were wrong to doubt you. Go out and show Jurgen Klopp and Pep Linders and Jörg Schmatke that they were right to put their faith in you. And he doesn't do it. And it's too often he doesn't do it. We saw him at the weekend, dreadful. Came on against Sheffield United, got out-jumped by John Fleck. He's 7 inches taller than John Fleck. He shouldn't even need to jump to beat him in the air. Fulham, dreadful. Like, the good performances from Gravenberch have been few and far between. And the good performances from Gakpo this year have been few and far between. And we know they're capable of more. They're two very, very talented young lads. They've got all the gifts you could ever ask for. And they have them in 6'3", 6'4" bodies that should enable them to further expand on those gifts. And they're soft. Like Gakpo tonight, just getting bundled off the ball by little lads. Gravenberch getting out jumped by players. One aerial duel contested, didn't win it. I'd be surprised if he's won more than 5 in his career at Liverpool to date. Like, Gravenberch plays through the middle. Gakpo plays through the middle. There's 0 point in hanging in a cross. 0 point in hanging in a cross for him. 0 aerial duels contested tonight. You're 6'4". I want to see you go up and contest something in the air somewhere on the pitch.
That's outrageous.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and like I said, the annoyance for me is we know they have the capability to be a lot better. But look, forget about it. It's over. The game didn't really matter. It's like I said, the result doesn't matter to me. The performance bothers me. I did tweet immediately after the game that it was the first time this season we've lost without a major VAR cock-up, because obviously the previous defeats, Spurs away and Toulouse away, major VAR cock-ups in both. And there I was thinking, look, we've just lost the game. I said on the Daily Red today, I don't mind if we actually lose a game. It annoys me when we lose because of a referee's interference. And I'd completely forgotten that we got screwed on the first goal today. It's clearly offside.
It is.
But look, at the end of the day, it's absolutely meaningless. We go through, Toulouse are through in second. Union don't actually benefit from the goal because they don't advance, but they'll go on and play in the Conference League, and the best of luck to them. Do you know what? Do you know what's good about this competition, Trev? This is one of the highlights of those lads' careers. We've all seen the video of them on the plane finding out they were playing Liverpool. Did you see them celebrate at full time?
Absolutely delighted with themselves. And fair fucking play.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what it should be about. This is massive for them as players, for them as a club. Go and look at where they were 5 years, 10 years ago, before Tony Bloom went in there. And this is a great moment in their history. So congrats to them. Best of luck in the Conference League. Our lads need to get their finger out because, again, it's a different group of players, but we've had a lot of bad performances over the last couple of months. We're winning, but we're not playing well. And I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't think you can go an entire season, play well 7 times and win a league title. But at the moment, I'd look at our league results and say, I think we've played well about 3 times, maybe 4. So I'd like to see a bit more cohesion come the weekend. I'm curious to see what Jurgen will do at the weekend. Me and Karl will talk about United and about the game on Scouted. There'll be Two-Footed and Daily Reds. And there'll be a few other bits and bobs. We're ramping things up all the time. And with the move that we've made away from Acast to our new provider, they're looking for more and more of our content. So we will be more than happy to give it.
Yes. The content machine is hungry and we will feed it. Congratulations to you 5 stalwart individuals who have listened to this live because, I mean, we barely dragged ourselves here. And we have to do this. So it's very impressive by you. We appreciate you listening live. We appreciate the many sets of ears that listen to us after the event on the podcast, on all your various platforms. Fair play to you for doing that. Continue to do it. Spread the word if you think we offer something good. I don't think there's too much to argue with that. I think it's something that you can probably share with confidence and know that people are going to be happy enough with it. There are a lot of people doing a lot of good stuff on Anfield Index and Anfield Index Pro. I was Trev Downey. That was Dave Hendrick. You heard Karl Matchett. Guy Drinkle was producing. This was Raw, and we're back for United when it really matters. Mind yourselves.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.